order. We'll begin with the invocation led by Vice Mayor Fugit, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance led by Councilmember Parker. Please rise as you're able.
Heavenly One, we thank you for bringing us together today. We thank you for this community and for the gifts, talents, and the diverse perspectives of each person. As we begin our meeting, we ask for your guidance and wisdom. Help us to listen to one another with open hearts and respect. Give us clarity of mind and patience as we talk through our agenda items. May our work together strengthen our neighborhood bonds and lead to wise and fair decisions. Amen.
Please face the flag. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, Mr. Johnson, would you please call roll?
Councilwoman Adams.
Here.
Councilman DeBartolome.
Here.
Vice Mayor Fugit.
Here.
Councilman Grant. Councilwoman Helsley.
Here.
Councilman Honeycutt.
Here.
Councilman Lloyd.
Here.
Councilwoman Parker.
Here.
And Councilman Thomas.
Here.
8 members present, Mayor.
Thank you. Is there a motion on the minutes from our last meeting?
Move to approve.
Motion made to approve and seconded. Any questions or discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Now for tonight's agenda, are there any items to be withdrawn? Are there any items to be postponed? Are there any items to be added by motion? Is there a motion on the consent agenda? Councilmember Parker.
Move to approve after removing 12P and 13X. I believe 12P may have been a mistake.
Okay, so removing item 13X and 12P. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay, so there's a motion on the consent to approve the consent agenda after removing those two items. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, the motion's been made and seconded. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Okay, time now for my mayor's report. I want to start by thanking Chief David Powell and all the men and women of KPD for their hard work and dedication serving the people of Knoxville. I visited several roll calls last week and am glad to report that our officers know their mission, keeping Knoxville safe, and they're out there doing the work 24/7, 365 days a year. One way to support our officers is to join us in honoring the newest recruits as they graduate Thursday evening. The graduation is at 6 p.m. at Sevier Heights Church. I hope to see you there. Another reminder is the city's annual Neighborhood Resource Fair is right around the corner. This year's event is Saturday, August 29th from 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. at World's Fair Park Exhibition Hall. This is a one-stop shop for community resources, and there's lots of fun stuff too. There will be more than 90 booths, door prizes, face painting for the kids, and lunch will be provided as well. Again, that's next Saturday, the 29th, at the World's Fair Park Exhibition Hall. Quick reminder about our rules of decorum. We are here to do the city's official business. Those who wish to speak, either to a specific agenda item or during public forum, need to sign up with the city recorder before 4 p.m. Do not use profanity, and when speaking to specific agenda items, you must stay on topic. Remarks must be germane to the question ahead of the assembly. That is, statements must have bearing on whether the pending motion should be adopted. Those who fail to adhere to these rules will be ruled out of order. For those who are listening, please note, if you disrupt a public meeting, you will be asked to leave or escorted out. I appreciate everyone's respect for these rules. That concludes my mayor's report. And time now for reports of committees or council members serving on committees or boards. Okay, general council member announcements. Councilmember Thomas.
Yes, Mayor. We made a significant addition to the city greenway system this morning by officially opening the extension on the Sue Clancy Greenway. And this was a long collaborative community effort. Skill Construction is enabling us to create a mile of long a mile-long missing link greenway that connects at Ayer Park and residents living north of I-640 and Broadway with neighborhoods and destinations south of Sharps Ridge. And many thanks should go out to several people, Lyndhurst Cemetery, the park at Fountain City Apartments, and KUB provided access to the property to make the new greenway possible. Legacy Parks negotiated the easements, and City Public Services built and will maintain the gravel and crushed stone trail. And it took us a long while to get this done, but now we can enjoy the fact that it's here, and hopefully it will serve us for generations to come. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Honeycutt.
Thank you. There's been a series of stormwater meetings, public meetings held. The next one is at Dean Hill Rec Center from 6 to 8 on this Thursday, August 20th. I encourage anyone that's interested to come out and be part of the discussion. We are talking about the sort of the results of the 3-year assessment for the citywide system, and taking feedback about people that are experiencing flooding issues and property related to stormwater. So please come out and be part of it. The next is the KPSHA is having a Labor Day picnic Monday, September 7th from 5 to 7 at the baseball fields on Cherokee Boulevard. It's a family-friendly event with food trucks, a kickball tournament, and a bluegrass band. So please come out and be part of the community. Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Moving right along, next item on the agenda, please.
9B is a resolution expressing support for the mayor's reappointments of Aaron Ingram, Ashley Mays, Brianna Officer, and Diane Ott, and the appointments of Curtis Glover, Kiana Jones, Margot Miller, and Haley Sprinkle to the Mayor's Maker Council.
Move to approve.
Motion made to approve and seconded. Any questions or discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
10D is an ordinance to amend the Charter of the City of Knoxville, specifically Chapter 412 of the Private Acts of 1923 of the General Assembly of the State of Tennessee, entitled An Act to Incorporate the City of Knoxville and Knox County, Tennessee, and define the rights, powers, and liabilities of the same, to fix the boundaries of said municipality, and repeal all acts or parts of acts in conflict with this act, and all acts amendatory thereto, by amending Article 7, Section 707B and Section 707C, so as to align the manner of holding elections for members of the council and that of the mayor, as provided for in Section 707A, and further providing for the submission of this ordinance to the qualified voters of the City of Knoxville for approval as provided in Article 11, Section 9 of the Constitution of the State of Tennessee.
Move to approve.
Second.
Motion made to approve and seconded. Council members, we have 2 people signed up to speak, one in favor and one against. We'll start with the person in favor, Mr. Eddie DeBusk. If you come to the podium, state your name and address for the record, and you'll have up to 3 minutes to address council.
Thank you. My name is Eddie DeBusk. I live at 5812 Grove Drive here in Knoxville, Tennessee, 37918. In response to the proposed ordinance 10 Delta that is contained within your agenda tonight, I would simply state that I believe democracy is advanced with the support of the voters in Knoxville, Tennessee. To that end, I would encourage the Knoxville City Council to simplify the verbiage within the proposed ordinance to the ordinance change to better articulate the proposed amendment for the presentation to your constituents. Simply stated, I do not believe that voters in Knoxville, Tennessee have your understanding of this proposed change. Subsequently, the voters would need to have a transparent understanding of the proposed change to the charter of the City of Knoxville before they exercise their opinion via the ballot box. In closing, I thank you for the opportunity to speak to you regarding this all-important matter. Thank you.
Thank you. Next person signed up to speak in opposition to item 10D is Lindsay Jarenko. Ms. Jarenko, if you could state your name and address for the record, and you'll have up to 3 minutes to address council.
Lindsay Remco, 1750 Hillwood Drive. I don't believe voter fatigue is a real phenomenon, but I do believe in candidate fatigue, and I believe when candidates compete, voters win. I agree elections can be expensive, but they don't need to be, at least for district seats, which make up 2/3 of this body. For example, I spent about $5,000 running in last year's primary, and I came within 24 votes of making it to the general election in a 4-person race. Contrast that with Councilmember Honeycutt's 2-person race. His campaign raised nearly $73,000, about $3 for every dollar his opponent raised. And as of the week before the general election, he had spent only about 60%, with nearly $28,000 on hand. I suspect part of that is because he knew he didn't need to spend it to win. Councilmember Adams mentioned if 50+1 went into effect, resources could shift towards more competitive races. But I think your own campaign is a good example of why that may already happen under our current system. 80% of your campaign expenditures were incurred between your campaign launch and the primary, with only 20% expended between the primary and the general election. I believe this is because candidates understand the stakes of their races and campaigns adjust accordingly. But 50%+1 would change those stakes. Under our current system, the goal is first place, of course. And if you don't get first, second place. Under 50+1, the goal becomes first place, ideally 50+1. And if you can't achieve that, second place, while somehow ensuring that the front runner stays below 50%. I worry that this will result in campaigns becoming negative and quickly. And this also speaks to Councilmember Lloyd's point about the shortened discovery period. No disrespect to our local press, but timely vetting of candidates may become an issue. Under 50+1, voters could be learning vital information about candidates with no way to shift their support. If this goes into effect, there's no doubt that primaries will become more expensive for every candidate, but this will hurt grassroots candidates the most. Our home rule charter gives us the ability to create an election system that works for Knoxville. Some changes may be warranted. I support Councilmember Parker's tiebreaker amendment, and I hope you all vote in favor of that tonight. Additionally, 50+1 may make sense for a 2-person race, like Councilmember Honeycutt's. Can we please table 50+1 this year, hold public hearings, of which there have been none, and take the time to understand the effects of district-only voting, which just passed last year, and then make an informed decision? That is my ask of council. Thank you for your time and consideration.
Thank you. Council members, that concludes people who signed up to speak at public forum in this event, agenda item, Vice Mayor Fugel.
Thank you. I will just state again that this was brought before council to consider putting on the ballot, because at our retreat, we talked about that this was something the majority of members wanted to see put before the citizens. This is not a new idea. It is how municipal elections in nonpartisan communities take place all across the state. Every other major metropolitan area does it this way. We are the only ones that still do not. That does not mean that, so that means that this is not an outlier radical thing that we are thinking about doing. We are the outlier doing it this way. The reason we've talked about doing this before is because if the mayor and the judge can win in what is erroneously called a primary anymore, because a primary is what we use in partisan elections. It's really an election and a runoff. If somebody doesn't win in the election, then there's a runoff. If somebody wins in the first round of voting, they do not have to run the same race again. That's the way we have done mayor forever, as long as I've been, well, I can't say forever. I haven't lived here since the charter was written, but I haven't been voting. But as long as I've been voting in this community for almost 40 years, that's the way we vote. It's a simple, straightforward proposal, clean, easy, nothing else added to it, just should the manner of voting that is used for the mayor and the judge apply to all city council seats.
Councilmember Adams.
Thank you. I wanted to ask Mr. Swanson if he could help in terms of what Mr. DeBusk spoke about in the language that is used, how that's crafted for a ballot. Could you just talk about that process and how we get to the language that we ultimately vote on?
Yes, the Election Commission requires us, when we're doing a charter amendment, to actually name the ordinance that is the charter that's being amended. And that's what most of this language does. It names the ordinance that created our charter. And so, according to the state officials, we have to have it that way. Then when you talk about the specific change you are making, then you can sort of simplify the language there to say specifically what you're talking about. But that's really the only opportunity that you have to make the language more simple and more understandable, unless the state authorities decide that we don't really have to quote the legal title of our charter.
So in the case of this, if it moves forward, it would largely remain the same, but there would be some measures to help explain this is where the change is being made.
Sure. The question itself is what people really read. And the question is, Rob, you probably know better than me since you crafted this. But that's really what the voters are steered by, is what the question is on the ballot itself.
Mr. Frost, did you have something to add to that?
Yes, thank you, Mayor. Mr. Swanson. I mean, in the, it says, you have to name, like Mr. Swanson alluded to, name the particular parts of the charter that you're going to amend. And it's to provide that if a candidate for the office of City Council receives a majority of all votes cast in the primary for the designated seat, the candidate shall be declared elected without the necessity of a runoff.
So that's pretty simple and pretty plain. But the rest of the legal jargon, I understand, is difficult to wade through. But unless and until we have state law changes that allow us to simplify that language or leave it out, which would be perfectly fine with me, just say an ordinance to change the charter to say this, to me, would be a better way to do it, because it's certainly more understandable by the general population. But at the moment, we're not permitted to do that.
Thank you.
I would
Mr. Frost?
prefer to issue obfuscation.
Did it?
Councilmember Honeycutt.
Thank you. Yes, again, on that note, Mr. DeBusk, I appreciate the question. One of the first questions I asked was, can we put this in plain English, please? And was told right off the bat, no. So unfortunately, the wording is what it is, but you're right. With any of these kind of initiatives, we're going to have to, it's our duty to try to inform the public and get the message out there, and we need to do that. So thank you. You're right. I think Vice Mayor Fugit did a good job of explaining where this came from and why it's on the docket today. At the end of the day, of course, our vote just puts it in front of the Knoxville voters to decide. So we're not deciding what happens today. We're just deciding whether or not it goes before them to decide. I made my kind of thoughts pretty clear at the last meeting about this, so to keep from reiterating myself too much, I did want to, between the meetings, consulted with a lot of experts about this topic, and Cliff Rogers, who was the Knox County Administrator of Elections from 2011 to 2020, was kind enough to give me his thoughts in a quote that I'd like to share with you all. So from Cliff, again, the person responsible for administering our elections for over 9 years. This is his quote. "This charter amendment is long overdue. We should have one clear majority standard for city elections and make the rules easier for voters to understand. Knoxville already uses this standard for mayor and municipal judge, and city council elections should follow the same common sense rule. This makes elections more meaningful. I believe it will increase voter turnout and it can save taxpayers time and money. This charter amendment is good for voters and good for our community. So with that, I will be voting to support it and to put it before the voters of Knoxville for their decision.
Thank you. Councilmember Lloyd.
Yes, it's taken about 200 years for the rules to reach where we're at right now. And obviously changes happen. They're not always good. Sometimes they are, sometimes they're not. But I would like to use the example of the sheriff's race that just passed us. Of course, there wasn't a candidate on the Democratic side. Therefore, that one was over pretty quickly. But directly between the primary and the general election, two of the candidates were indicted. Now, frankly, I think that we need that time period between the primary and the general election to properly vet the candidates. During my race last year, between the primary and the general election, the tone changed. It gives everybody a chance to talk about things, think about things. And I think that's really, really important. I think the people understand it better that way. Also, in the verbiage of this thing, I don't know what we're going to call it, but I hope we call it the 50% plus one so that the voters will understand what they're voting for. And in conclusion, I'd just like to say that elections are not for the convenience of the candidates, but for the understanding of the constituents so that they understand what they're voting on and they cast their ballots accordingly. Thank you.
Councilmember Parker.
Thank you, Mayor. I do have concerns about this rule based on my experience. And I do understand that other cities do it this way. But I don't think we have to do it that way just because others do it. My experience has been, for those who don't know, when you run for office, you have to take a few steps before you can even start fundraising. You have to declare your treasurer and file certain paperwork to begin your campaign. And then, you have to pick up a petition and get signatures of support so that you can go on the ballot. And that doesn't happen until May, around May. And the petitions are due back in May. And so a lot of people are beginning their campaign around that time. And we have some really impressive members of our community who would make impressive leaders and valuable city council members who could not only, bring really good representation, but also just really good work to this council. But the fundraising can be challenging, especially when you are going up against others who have a lot more resources than you do. And so that's the time that you need to build your campaign and to raise funds. And then oftentimes the debates, the forums, a lot of those do not even begin until after the primary, when the crowd has thinned out a little bit more among all of the candidates. So I do worry about the public being able to, especially with our low turnout already, being able to learn about candidates and ready to elect someone in August when candidates have not been running that long or had much time to raise much needed funds. So even though many other cities do it this way, I prefer the system we have in place in terms of allowing, especially in those district races, candidates to have more time to meet with potential constituents and for the public to be able to meet these individuals who have stepped forward to potentially, lead their community. So I'm not able to support it, but I understand the reasoning behind wanting to present this before the voters, because we have some confusion, definitely during the year that the mayor and municipal judge are on the ballot. As an at-large representative, I have experienced that where if the mayor wins with a majority during the primary, participation can drop off for the upcoming election. But that's not always the case. And I certainly haven't seen that be the case in the district elections. So I want voters to have more time to get to know who's running and to be able to make informed decisions, and for those grassroots candidates to have time to raise funds so that they are an actual viable candidate. And so that's the reason why I'm not able to support the charter amendment.
Okay, seeing no further lights on, all those in favor, please say aye. Oh,
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Next item, please.
E is an ordinance of the Council of the City of Knoxville to amend the Charter of the City of Knoxville, specifically Chapter 412 of the Private Acts of 1923 of the General Assembly of the State of Tennessee, entitled An Act to Incorporate the City of Knoxville and Knox County, Tennessee, and define the rights, powers, and liabilities of the same, to fix the boundaries of said municipality, and repeal all acts or parts of act in conflict with this act, and all acts amendatory thereto, by amending Article 7, Sections 707A, B, and C, so as to reflect the process for primary and regular elections of council members implemented in the 2025 to be consistent with Public Chapter 391 Acts of 2023, including establishing by charter that only voters within a city district shall vote in the council district election, and changing that candidates placed on the regular election ballot to candidates receiving the two highest number of votes in the primary rather than the two candidates with the highest number of votes, and further providing for the submission of this ordinance to the qualified voters of the City of Knoxville for approval as provided in Article 11, Section 9 of the Constitution of the State of Tennessee.
Move to approve.
Motion made to approve. Is there a second? Okay, motion made and seconded. Council members, we have one person signed up to speak in favor of this, Mr. DeBusk. If you could come to the podium, make sure the microphone's on, and then you'll have up to 3 minutes to address council.
My name is Eddie DeBusk. I live at 5812 Grove Drive in Knoxville, Tennessee, 37918. If I am repetitive, bear with me. This is my response to the proposed ordinance 10 Echo that is contained within your agenda tonight, whereas I once again state that I believe democracy is advanced with the support of the voters in Knoxville, Tennessee, in the same way that I mentioned regarding item 10 Delta that is in your agenda tonight. To that end, I would encourage the Knoxville City Council to revisit and simplify the verbiage within the proposed ordinance change to better articulate the proposed amendment for presentation to your constituents. Simply stated, I have a concern that voters in Knoxville, Tennessee will not have your specific understanding of this proposed change. Subsequently, the voters would need to have a transparent understanding of the proposed change to the charter of the City of Knoxville before they exercise their opinion via the ballot box. In closing, I thank you for your opportunity to speak to this matter. Thank you.
Thank you. Council members, that concludes the people who signed up to speak to this item. Councilmember Parker.
Thank you, Mayor. So once again, this charter amendment serves two purposes. It does contain the language to make our city elections district only for the district representatives, And it also addresses the need for council to take action in the case of a tie. And there were just a few things that I wanted to mention in follow-up to our conversation at the last meeting, because I do believe this has been well vetted. This language in this proposal, since 2022, and so I feel very comfortable with this language. And one thing I wanted to start out with is, at the last meeting, there was a discussion about, the legality of this language. And one thing that I forgot to mention was that we did go to the State Election Commission around this language, and they did give their thumbs up in approval that it was perfectly legal under Tennessee state law for us to include this language and create a process for, potentially more than 2 candidates to move on to the regular / general election. And so I just wanted to clarify that and make sure that we didn't have any concerns about the legality of this proposal. And also just a reminder that the language has been written and refined by several attorneys, including MTAS, who developed this language. And it's a resolution for a potential scenario that could happen. Just during this election cycle, I found it interesting to see, I can't remember what county it was, somewhere here in East Tennessee, but one of those elections resulted in a tie. A different scenario than what we're dealing with. That was a partisan election. We're talking about nonpartisan elections, and so I echo what Vice Mayor Fugate stated earlier, that our primaries are not to determine the Democrat and the Republican moving forward, but they are an election, and our regular election is considered the runoff. And so when the tie happened that I experienced, I also had a conversation with Cliff Rogers, and it was that conversation that gave me this idea. It was his language for changing this charter language so that it wasn't 2 candidates, but candidates with the 2 highest vote totals. And so I began that process with that recommendation that, since the November election is supposed to be the runoff election, that we as a city could actually treat it that way. And I thought that was a brilliant idea. And so I've been working on it since 2022 and, gone through all the proper channels to make sure we have the language that would be good with the state, that would be clear for our processes, and I think that we've achieved that. Just as a reminder, since we are, a home rule charter city, we have a lot of room to set up our elections how we see fit when it doesn't conflict with state law. And I believe with all of the questions and all the lawyers that we've worked with, we've come up with a process and language that meets those requirements. So I'll turn it over to questions.
Okay. Not seeing any. Oh, Councilmember Bartleben.
Yeah, so that's a compelling argument, Councilwoman Parker. And I kicked it around because we are calling this a runoff. And, to me, the challenge of passing this is that we could have a 3-person race is very different than a 2-person race. We just experienced that in our own county races. And so that is something that concerns me, and what also has concerned me is that somebody could win less than 50% of the vote and still win the seat. And so I've wrestled with it. But as we've talked about this language, that there is an election then and there's a runoff. And when two people tie, I am considering changing my vote, that they should go to a runoff. Somebody didn't win. So I'm considering.
Thank you. Councilmember Thomas?
Yes, the system that we have right now is actually imperfect. We have a situation where if you have a tie, it goes to city council, they decide, so it doesn't go directly to the voters. So I understand that. But my concern is if we change the system we have now, I think the option that we have is not without flaws as well. What you would get if you sent 3 people into the general election, most likely you would elect someone to city council by a plurality who didn't actually get a majority of the votes of the voters. So the problem on both systems is that practicality is that we can't have runoffs. So the cure in the first scenario and the option that we have before of us is you wouldn't have a runoff in the general where you would go down to 2 people. And I have seen, as a pundit, I suppose, I've seen situations where I have thought that if the 2 people who finished with the fewest votes had gone one-on-one with the person who won, they may have beaten them. So I don't think this completely gets us out of the quandary. I think we may be substituting one imperfect system for another. So because of that, this is very well intentioned. It does point to an issue, but I think what's on the agenda for us actually has flaws as well. And I've never really liked the idea of a plurality, people holding office when they got a plurality of the vote, when the majority of the people in the race did not actually vote for them. So with that said, I can't support this as well-intentioned as it is. Thank you.
Mayor, would you mind if I responded to that?
Well, I'm going to go to Mr. Honeycutt, and then I'll come back to you. Mr. Honeycutt?
Sure, thank you. I appreciate Councilwoman Parker bringing this before us and engaging in the discussion. I'm glad we had the extra 2 weeks to do research and talk to people and come tonight with a more informed opinion of this topic. Basically, this would address if there was a tie for second place in an election. We already know, so that's what this is trying to address. If there's a tie for second place, how do we handle that? Tennessee state law already dictates how we should handle that, and every other city in the state of Tennessee follows that law. So, and when I looked at this, I said, okay, to put this before the city voters, it would need to be a very serious issue. We're asking to put it before the city voters, and we're asking to deviate from Tennessee state law and deviate from the way every other city does it. And so it would need to be a pretty serious, reoccurring problem to warrant that effort. And when I look at it, and again, in Knoxville, this has only happened one time in the last 50 years. To me, that's not a serious, reoccurring problem that warrants deviating from Tennessee state law and the way every other city does it. So I think I appreciate the effort. I understand the issue, but I can't support it at this time.
Councilmember Parker.
Thank you, Mayor. I did forget to bring up one other issue that I meant to respond to, which was the 3 people on the ballot and electing individuals without a majority. That did actually happen in my race, right? Because when the discussion came up of how do we resolve this, I believe once again it was Cliff Rogers who said, well, you can get on the ballot by being a write-in candidate. And that's what I did. So we had 3 people on the ballot, and Lauren Ryder did not get over 50% of the vote when she won. So that's already a system in place. There's already a system in place where, individuals can choose to be a write-in candidate. They just have to give 60 days. I think that's 60 days notice to be put on the ballot. Might not. I think it's 60. And then in that situation, the one who wins may not get a majority of the votes. So I just did want to emphasize that is already a part of my system, already a part of our system. And I'm not sure if I would say that we are skirting state law. I think the state has provided a solution for when a situation occurs for which there is no resolution, for which a decision has to be made. But if we put a system in place that already resolves that question, it already says that those with the 2 highest number of votes will move on to the runoff where a decision will be made. And if there's a tie in that regular election, then we still have, as the city council, the authority to, at that point, request a runoff election, or city council can decide to pick the winner. But during the primary, we do not have those choices. And then actually, my understanding of that state law is that they initially adopted it, and it stated that city council would have to pick the winner. And then there was some pushback, and so they amended it and said, okay, well, you can do a runoff, because the voters want to decide who their representatives are. But the issue for our system is that we just don't have enough time for that runoff, and so it limits our options, and it forces us to have to choose. And so I did want to just, remind folks that in 2017, we elected the 4th District City Council representative with less than 50% of the vote, because we had 3 people on the ballot. So we already had that system in place. This would just put a process in place that would determine who moves on to the regular election when 2 or more people are receiving the same number of votes. And so that's the purpose of it.
Okay, any further questions or discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please say aye. Any opposed?
Opposed.
Motion fails. Next item, please.
12F is a resolution authorizing the mayor to execute an agreement with Adams Contracting LLC in an amount not to exceed $2,807,530.50 for the Magnolia Avenue Streetscapes Phase 3 project, District 6.
Motion made to approve and seconded. Yep, multiple seconds, thank you. Just wanted to share that the next 2 items are part of our ongoing commitment in East Knoxville and will allow us to extend the Magnolia Avenue Streetscape project another half mile. This section, which is already funded, will allow us to build and install new sidewalks, curbs, bike lanes, lighting, landscaping, and transit stops between North Bertrand and North Kyle Streets. The city's already invested around $9 million to update and modernize Magnolia Avenue infrastructure and utilities, and as a result of that, we are seeing increased private investment along the corridor. The streetscapes also are just a delight to walk along. They're shadier, they're more pleasant, and they're safer. So appreciate your support for these ongoing investments. Any questions or discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please say aye. Any opposed? Motion carries.
12G is a resolution authorizing the mayor to execute an agreement with Gresham Smith to provide construction engineering inspection services for the Magnolia Avenue Streetscapes Phase 3 project in an amount not to exceed $338,800.
Motion made to approve and seconded. Any questions or discussion? Councilmember Parker.
I believe this project has federal funding attached to it, correct?
Mr. Clabo?
Tom Clabo, Engine Director. Yes, it does. 80% federal, 20% local match.
And so with the federal contracts, we have requirements for setting DBE goals and all of that jazz. What can we expect from this project? I'm hoping to see lots of diversity involved in this project.
So through the bid process, the contractor indicates through that DBE process if they're going to use subs. The bid packet's in there. I'm not sure if they indicated any subs in this or not. Typically, they mark whether it's self-perform or they're going to use DBE subs. The item that we're talking about right now is professional services for engineering inspection, and that will be performed by Gresham Smith.
Okay, gotcha. Well, always looking for ways for us to divide up contracts, bring in some, and benefit from the investments made into expanding our list of DBE contractors that we put some effort into around the stadium project. So I'm hoping as we see future projects move forward, we're taking advantage of that expanded list and maintaining that expanded list, so they don't move off to other cities and work there and not work here. Okay, cool.
Any further questions or discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please say aye. Any opposed? Motion carries.
12H is a resolution authorizing the mayor to enter into an agreement with Fire Cat LLC to provide annual fire hose and ground ladder testing for the Knoxville Fire Department for an annual amount of $29,850.
Motion made to approve and seconded. Any questions or discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please say aye. Any opposed? Motion carries.
12I is a resolution authorizing the mayor to execute a quitclaim deed to East Tennessee Housing Development Corporation for one parcel of property located at 210 South Elmwood Street, parcel ID number 082FK026, within the limits of the city of Knoxville pursuant to the Homemakers Program for a contract sales price of $7,000, District 6.
Motion made to approve, seconded. Any questions or discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please say aye. Any opposed? Motion carries.
12J is a resolution authorizing the mayor to execute an agreement with Volunteer Ministry Center to provide an amount not to exceed $54,000 to support the provision of case management services at Manvilla Manor and social services at its resource center and the Bush Family Refuge, District 6.
Motion made to approve and seconded. Council, this item and the next one are both part of the city's ongoing efforts to support homeless services. These will authorize the city to provide funding for Manvilla Manor and Flanagan Landing, two of our longest-serving permanent supportive housing developments. And as we have learned, this model is effective and a sustainable solution for addressing homelessness, and it integrates affordable housing with those support services like on-site case management, access to health care, and community resources. So we're very thankful for our providers who do that every day. Any further questions or discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please say aye. Any opposed? Motion carries.
12K is a resolution authorizing the mayor to execute an agreement with Southeastern Housing Foundation II, Incorporated, to provide an amount not to exceed $75,000 to support case management and property management services at Flanagan Landing, District 1.
Move to approve.
Motion made to approve and seconded. Any questions or discussion?
Mayor, I just wanted to say a special thanks on this one to Mr. DeBose and his department, because I think that you've already stated permanent supportive housing is doing such an important job in our city, and I think that Flanagan Landing has for a long period now been a really exemplar example of that in terms of its presence in the community, how it's managed, and when I saw this coming through, my first question was, please tell me something's not changing here, because I really feel like it's been going very well. So I just want to say thank you for the work there. I think it's doing wonderful things.
Thank you. Councilmember Thomas.
Yeah, I would just like to underline that. And I remember when Flanagan was put into place, And people didn't really know what to expect at that time. And for you to establish that, or for the city to establish that as a solid program I see Mr. DeBose pointing out someone there, but yeah. But it was a groundbreaker in more ways than one, and it showed people what we could do and that it would work. So it set a real precedent. So Flinnicum was really important for the way the city works on the homeless issue and provides permanent housing.
Any further questions or discussion? Yeah, just reiterating for both Volunteer Ministry Center and Knoxville Leadership Foundation, you've been doing this a long time and we're grateful. All those in favor, please say aye. Any opposed? Motion carries.
L is a resolution authorizing the mayor to execute a memorandum of understanding for appropriations to a nonprofit with Appalachian Mountain Bike Club for professional natural surface trail maintenance services at select parks within the city to ensure proper routine maintenance of the city's natural surface trails for an annual amount not to exceed $200,000.
Second.
Motion made to approve and seconded. We don't have any public comment on this. I think Councilmember Parker, your light's on.
I'm really concerned about this proposal, and I'm concerned that how it's being presented to us. It's the same as this baseball stadium, which it was full of lies. Baseball stadium agreements, we got stuff, it said, oh, the development agreement's gonna come before, development agreement's gonna have to come before city council, before we approve this. Lies. It didn't. It was shared with us, but when I issued questions about both the development agreement and the lease agreement on the stadium, the administration refused to answer my questions, which I have in writing. I'll share it publicly, and would only answer questions about the interlocal agreement. So now, I'm not going down that road again. What we got in our packet tonight is lies. That's not coming before us, unless we get an agreement tonight that requires those documents to come back before us. That's not what we're considering tonight. That's not what is required of the Sports Authority. And so, no, there's absolutely no way I would, and then, on top of that, we've got another public space that the city wants to put some hotels on. What is the deal? Why everything I read, it says, we're looking at ways to put.
Councilmember Parker, just this.
That was in the proposal.
We're on the AMBC item. I think you're talking about the next one. If you want to continue, you can.
Well, hold my thoughts for the next one, and we'll be back to it.
Okay. Any further questions about item, the AMBC item? Seeing none, all those in favor, please. Oh, Councilmember Thomas.
Yeah, I just briefly say, I'm not sure about the comments of my colleague, and some of them may be merited. The reason why I'm supporting this, though, is the track record that AMBC has, and I've seen it work. And for example, on Sharps Ridge, the trails that they built up there, the quality of trails that they built where they have the switchbacks that could combine pedestrian access with biking access, and it's really done a lot to transform 100 acres in my neighborhood, and it's really well used and promotes health and outdoors and all that stuff. So that's the reason why I have confidence in the Appalachian Mountain Biking Club to do their work. If there's problems with funding, that's another issue that I'm not privy to, but I've got a lot of confidence in this organization to build quality work.
Thank you. Councilmember Adams?
Thank you. I want to reiterate what Councilman Thomas said in terms of having the confidence there with AMBC, and really want to thank them for being nimble, professional, and they really are recognized as the experts when there are these natural surface trails. They're taken care of very well for all of our community members, and a lot of trust there. So I'm glad to see this and happy to support it.
Councilmember Honeycutt.
Yeah, just briefly, again, want to piggyback on those comments and just say that I think our natural surroundings in Knoxville are one of the real benefits to our community, and being able to get out into the nature is one of the things that makes us special. And Appalachian Mountain Bike Club does a great job maintaining both the bike trails and the walking trails, and I think this is a wonderful use of their time and resources, and I appreciate and am very supportive of this.
Councilmember Parker.
I will say on this item, since we're all commenting on it, that it seemed like a significant amount of money for what was being done, especially when it follows $75,000, $54,000 for permanent supportive housing casework. I would like to see $200,000 put towards those efforts in our community. And if we are, I could have missed it, but I was looking for a budget for how that $200,000 is used, and I didn't find one because I was curious, is this renting equipment? Is this paying individuals to do the work? What's included in the $200,000? Because it's more than we give to legal aid for eviction support, to Flanagan Manor. It's a significant chunk of money.
Matthew Kellogg, who's the head of AMBC, is present. Mr. Kellogg, can you speak to those questions, please? And while he's coming up, I'll just say that we spend, these are just two small efforts on the homeless front. We spend and invest in homeless services in many other ways in addition to those things you just approved. Mr. Kellogg.
Thank you for the time. Matthew Kellogg, Executive Director for the Appalachian Mountain Bike Club, 6110 Burnett Creek Road, Knoxville, Tennessee, 37920. As far as where the budget goes for this, these funds are leveraged through not only our in-house professional staff. We've got 3 individuals that we hire full-time that work on trail issues throughout our city and county parks, but this contract is specifically for city parks. And then we leverage these dollars for an AmeriCorps team member that we also have on staff. We found that this is a great way to be able to support the use that we see on these trails. These trails are indeed a great avenue for folks to be able to get outside, but they're also an economic generator, has been supported with some studies from University of Tennessee. But these dollars are also leveraged with our volunteers that spend over 3,500 hours in addition to these hours, or these dollars spent to perform stewardship within our community.
Thank you. Mr. Councilmember DeBartoleben.
Yeah, I just want to add that in survey after survey, one of the things that Knoxvillians enjoy about Knoxville is the outdoors, the connection to nature, whether that's walking down a path or getting on the river. And I think that the AMBC has performed a wonderful service for the city, very much going way beyond even this $200,000 that will be spent. And I will add that events like Fall Fest, the work that's been done at Baker Creek throughout the entire urban wilderness have, I don't know the number of tax dollars that are generated through that, but the number of visitors who come and spend money in Knoxville, Tennessee, which has sales taxes so that we can then pay for these very important services, like working with our unhoused community. So thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Thomas.
Yeah, I would only add that besides the economic benefits, these trails and access to nature have health benefits, both physical and psychological. So we're reaping benefits in that way as well.
Okay, seeing no further lights, all those in favor, please say aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Next item, please.
12M is a resolution approving a memorandum of understanding between the City of Knoxville, Knox County, and the Knoxville-Knox County Sports Authority, authorizing the Sports Authority to explore partnership opportunities to modernize the Knoxville Municipal Golf Course site, District 3.
Move to approve.
Motion made to approve and seconded. There is no one signed up to speak on this item. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Next item, please.
12N is a resolution approving and adopting the North Waterfront Redevelopment Plan prepared by Knoxville's Community Development Corporation, Districts 1, 2, and 6.
Move to approve.
Motion made to approve and seconded. There are two people signed up to speak to this item. First is Roger, both in opposition. First is Roger Ramsey. Is Roger Ramsey here? Okay, Mr. Ramsey, if you could come to the podium, please state your name and address for the record, and you'll have up to 3 minutes to address council.
My name is Roger Ramsey. My address is 1004 Game Day Way, Knoxville, Tennessee, 37902. I just want to give you a little perspective on the property you're talking about tonight. A lot of our owners have had their units for many years, and many have them so their children or grandchildren can use them while attending school here in Knoxville. Over the years, we've gotten to know each other pretty well. We see the same families year after year. We tailgate together on game days. We know each other's kids, and we've developed real friendships. So while 1004 Game Day Way may just look like a property on a redevelopment map, to the people who own the units there, it's a community that we've invested in and built over the years. We're not against the city's plans for the waterfront, and we understand that Knoxville is growing. We just want to make sure that the people and communities that are already here are considered as those plans move forward. We've been told that there is no intention to displace us, and we appreciate that. We simply hope that the language in the plan can ultimately reflect that same understanding. Thank you.
Thank you. Next person signed up to speak is Mac Hodges. Mr. Hodges, please come to the podium, state your name and address for the record, and you'll have up to 3 minutes to address council.
My name is Mac Hodges, and I'm one of the owners at 1004 Game Day Way, Knoxville, Tennessee. I want to begin by saying that we are not opposed to this project. From a high level, we support the North Water Redevelopment Plan. Our concern is specific to our property. Our property was previously outside the redevelopment zone from a map that was provided by Tuff. We were then notified that we had been included with very little time to understand what had changed or what this means for our property. Since then, we have reviewed the plan and had a few owners that were able to attend the second meeting with KCDC. We were able to gain some insight and express our concerns about the plan. Mr. Bentley and his team at KCDC took what we said and amended the plan, which we feel is a great first step to providing the protections we're looking for while still allowing the development to have the TIF in place to help finance the project. We also were told that there is no intention to acquire or displace our building. We thank KCDC in those assurances that they're giving us and the language that was added to the plan. Our concern is, though, that we have not yet reached the level of protection we were hoping for and have ran out of time up to this point of this meeting. I did speak today directly with KCDC's CEO, Ben Bentley, and I want to thank him for taking the time to discuss this with me. We understand that time is of the essence, and this project needs to move forward with the overall North Waterfront Plan tonight, and we do not want to delay that with our concerns on one specific property. Mr. Bentley has agreed to continue working with the Game Day property owners on language specifically addressing our concerns. We understand that we have not yet reached mutually agreeable language, but appreciate his willingness to continue that conversation. So tonight, rather than asking you to stop or defer the entire North Waterfront project, we ask that KCDC continue working with us to establish clear language in the more specific Maplehurst Master Plan, addressing what in the plan does and does not authorize acquisition, displacement, and eminent domain to be used, while also adding protections for our property. We ask that the process for incorporating that agreed upon language into the plan be clearly established and placed on the public record tonight. We want to work with the City of Knoxville and KCDC. We simply believe that if there is no intention to acquire or displace our existing homes, that the intention should be reflected clearly in the plan itself. So again, we appreciate the opportunity to be heard, and we greatly appreciate Mr. Bentley and KCDC's willingness to continue working with us. We're asking tonight for the broader project to move forward while preserving our right to work with KCDC on the more specific Maplehurst plan. Thank you.
Thank you. Council members, that concludes people signed up to speak on this item. Vice Mayor Fugit.
Thank you, Mayor. Just a few comments and then a few questions. My remarks will come as no surprise to Mr. Bentley or to members of the administration. When we asked for a redevelopment plan in a public process, I expected that the public would know sooner that a process was about to begin than a day before a meeting. So I'm gravely disappointed in that. I have assurances from Mr. Bentley. We had at least a 30-minute robust discussion on my way to Johnson City last week about his assurances that the plan will indeed have public process, as we know that the city and KCDC know how to do. And it is what our citizens expect and deserve. I appreciate that UT, I believe someone is here from UT, and I'd like to hear from him, and if you would, to come up and tell us a little bit. But first, Mr. Bentley, I would like for you to come down here and say on the record what you said to me in the car, because as I reminded you, I've been at this public process game for 26 years.
Right.
It matters to me a whole lot.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I know it does to you. Well, let me finish. But words aren't enough. So if you can talk to us about the steps we're going to go through, how we're going to notify people, because it's not just these homeowners that care about what UT is doing and what we're all doing. This is another gateway to the entire city that people will look at, because lots of people come down Nealon. So with that, will you please tell us what process is in place that is going to happen?
Yes,
Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you, Vice Mayor. So I'm going to start with kind of trying to level set in terms of a little bit of history in the recent redevelopment plan approvals. So I'm thinking about St. Mary's and the Magnolia Avenue corridor plans. We have put a first step: what are the tools, the financial tools in place that can assist private development? In the case of Magnolia Avenue, we were hearing from a lot of council members that there were properties that wouldn't it be nice if property owners had the ability, the tools to fix them up, even if there's no specific project there right now. We heard, go door to door and talk to these folks and get economic development happening. So we put the tools in place, and then we will run, obviously, the traditional community engagement process when there is either a master plan in some cases or when there's a specific project that might be on the horizon. St. Mary's, I worked real closely, and I know Councilman Thomas, Councilman Helsley, a couple of other folks were there. We established the redevelopment area to make sure that the city could invest in, what could have been a vacant for a long time site. And the second step of that process, after we got those tools in place, was very much about Oakwood Lincoln Park. What do you want to see here? And we got great feedback, not only on a specific project, but we worked with them to get the right zoning in place before a project happened. And I think Councilman Thomas could probably second that second step went well. So that's the model that we're looking at here. And specific to Maplehurst, what we intend to do is work with stakeholders and the community over the next 6 months. So there's some initial fact finding before you master plan an area. I know y'all know this, but I'm saying it for the people listening. There's a lot of gathering of information that's involved, whether it's, I know historic properties in that area are important. And urban design and development, in partnership with us, Knox Planning and Knox Heritage, are looking at an inventory of buildings in that area, not trying to identify the historic structures. So that'll be part of, before we meet with anybody, like we need that base information. There's information about existing infrastructure in the area. What is it, and how do we, what are gaps that may be needed in the future? So some of that groundwork's going to be laid, September, October. There'll be some initial stakeholder meetings, and those would, in the same way that when we do KCDC master planning, we treat our residents at our sites as the primary group, concentric circle, neighborhood, broader community. The primary stakeholder group will be consistent of people that have those vested direct interests in Maplehurst. But, and I sent a message to Councilwoman Adams earlier today, that leaves us at December, which is not a great time for community engagement in terms of getting people together. So in January, we would be looking at that first broader community meeting. We would have baseline data gathered. We would have initial stakeholder meetings that are about gathering additional data, and then we would move into a full-fledged master planning. Yeah.
Thank you. I know we can do it. I know you've done it. So I just wanted it to be said publicly, because I do think when master plan, redevelopment plan, you just see it on the agenda for the first time, people think that this is that whole process you just laid out was not done. So thank you for explaining that.
Thank you.
My time is up, so I see other lights on, but I may be back.
Yep, thank you, Vice Mayor. Councilmember Adams?
Thank you. Vice Mayor Fugit, it sounds like you and I were having some similar conversations with Mr. Bentley. And I appreciate you being here tonight to answer questions. And Mr. Ramsey and Mr. Hodges, it sounds like you all were as well having some of the same concerns that I was, just in terms of process, being able to understand what exactly is going on and where some answers can be found. I would like, you've gone through the list of sort of the next 6 months that could happen with Maplehurst in particular. And I know I appreciate getting the message that walks that down. I'd like to ask if you could add that to the KCDC website in a draft format so that it is something there that the public can easily find.
Absolutely.
And go to. I think that would bring some additional assurances about this.
May I say one other thing? Based on the forum speakers, we obviously talked because our number one priority is making sure people feel informed, especially the point of that public hearing as property owners in the area. And so we recognize that the first hearing, people weren't able to attend, and we scheduled a second hearing and then had dialogue beyond that. And actually, we worked together on, some of the comments that were stated by the public forum speakers, because we're completely in lockstep with them, that we're committed to that language. There's already language in the redevelopment plan that cites 1004 Game Day Way, and states that we're not going to use eminent domain on that property, or on it says it talks about residential owner-occupied properties such as Game Day Way, and building on that in the Maplehurst master plan, including additional language to solidify that, is something we're committed to. So I wanted to echo what the speakers had said.
Also, I think one of the issues that I had, because I heard from a number of people expressing concern about not knowing that the meetings were taking place. I think that as a district representative that my district is in that redevelopment area, and there are 2 other districts that are also impacted there. I know it's of particular interest to us.
Yep.
But I think that it is also of interest to the entire council. So when there are meetings that are happening, I think I would ask you to please err on the side of annoying us
Absolutely.
with that information.
Will do.
Thank you. Councilmember Parker, and then Honeycutt.
One concern I have are the strategies that we keep seeing in redevelopment plans. And it's the same strategies. And I'm curious why other resources haven't been sought. And here's one example. I was speaking with some business owners in Burlington recently, and I reminded them of some discussions we were having 5, 6, 7, 8 years ago around Burlington. And when I looked back at those materials, there were things like new markets credits, things like that. I hadn't heard any talk of that since Burlington, since 5, 6 years ago.
Can I say something specific on that point?
Please.
So new markets are a very undersubscribed resource that you can deploy to do community development type projects. We just closed the first new market transaction at Western Heights that we had done in Knoxville for that purpose in a long time. We're in the process of applying for a community development entity designation that would allow us to apply for new market allocation at the federal level, bring them here, and then be able to deploy those into community projects. That's an absolute priority. Since you asked, I wanted to go ahead and state that.
Okay, that's my concern. It's just I keep seeing redevelopment plans with the same kind of approach where it's, lots of folks are bracing for, what property might be taken. Folks feel like their property's going to be taken. What are we going to create a TIF district? When we do that, which is a question I have with the upcoming item, when we have plans in place where the tax revenue off of whatever we're doing has to pay for whatever we're doing, then it makes it a little bit more difficult to do those projects that cater to, the tax exempt, those low-income housing projects that get a pilot and the other ways that we bring in affordable housing. So sometimes what my question is what are y'all doing that's new? Let's not do the same thing over and over again. And what is the comprehensive plan so that we're not just trying to generate new revenue, but we're also taking into consideration that it's not just new money that's going to come into this area, but we also have folks who will need affordable housing, that will need other amenities that aren't necessarily tax income producing. So thanks for the update on the new markets. Appreciate that.
Councilmember Honeycutt.
Thank you. I echo, a lot of my fellow councilmen's and councilwomen's concerns and questions. Just at the risk of oversimplifying, my understanding is that this is sort of a 3-part process. And Mr. Bentley, the first part, which is what we're doing now, is the establishment of a district, which is boundaries, what properties are included, not included. The second part, which is the upcoming part, is the creation of a plan. And that will involve, as you started to detail out, 3 to 6 months of community input meetings where both city council and community members can come together, talk about the formation of that plan. And then the third part will be the implementation of that plan, which will also, have certain contracts that come before us for approval and not approval. So, absolutely. So I think it's important to reiterate that this is there's 3 major parts to this. Part 1 is the boundaries, which is the establishment of the district, and that's what we're talking about currently. And I think we've covered pretty clearly, that we expect the public process in the creation of the plan in phase 2, the upcoming phase 2, to be robust. I know in the establishment of that plan, I think there's 3 major things I know I look for, along with my fellow city council members and I think members of the public, and would expect to be part of that. I mean, the first is the land use, design, and preservation principles. Second being a prioritized list of public infrastructure based on what the public wants. And then clear criteria for what qualifies for a TIF support. And I expect that to come through the public process and be part of the plan that you guys are good at implementing and creating. I understand it feels a little bit like we stubbed our toe on the first phase, where we're sort of creating this district where we have to talk to each of the property owners. I will say, I appreciate Mr. Hodges and the group from the game day condos for being here and for reaching out to us and to talking with you. They were the one property owner that I was contacted with by, that was in the district. Everyone else was contacted and was part of the process. So I think that was a positive thing, and I'm excited for you all to be part of the process going forward. I think for me, when I hope, when I look at it, the creation of a district, this district, is about giving us, the city and the community, a seat at the table to be part of the conversation. If we don't establish this district, we have no voice in what happens or doesn't happen in our North Waterfront. Well, we do, but it's much more limited. This gives us and the community a seat at the table. Now, tonight we're establishing our seat. Now it's up to us at the table to have the conversations and to guide those conversations, and for people at the game day condos and all property owners to be part of that discussion. And that I look forward to. So I will be supporting this tonight, but I think we've made it clear what our expectations are going forward, and look forward to the results.
Thank you. Vice Mayor Fugit.
Thank you. Is someone from UT here? Mr. Bentley, I think I'll let you sit down.
Absolutely, thank you.
Mr.
Thank you.
Scoggins is here, and Dr. Malone as well.
Thank you. No offense, but you guys are the elephant in the room because y'all are the biggest part of the redevelopment area. So are you at liberty to talk in generalities about what the university may be thinking of doing there? We read things in the paper, and also what's your commitment to public input and being a part of this process?
Sure. Matthew Scoggins, serve as Chief of Staff to Chancellor Plowman, and I'm here on her behalf tonight. So obviously the North Waterfront is very important to our city, very important to the university. It's the place where, or one of the places where our students and our faculty and staff and industry sort of meet the city. And the importance of planning. And I've realized this, I've been educated on this and UT's involvement in the South Waterfront over the past several years, where we've participated in several community meetings on what the vision is over there, the importance of the residents, of having a vision, listening to the residents about where UT can have a presence on the South Waterfront that makes sense to the city, that makes sense to UT, and that the community would welcome. That's the same kind of engagement I would expect the university to have in the planning process here. But the planning, and I know all of you know this, but it's kind of new to me, is just so important because we've got a lot of exciting ideas. We've got the Inland Entertainment District, we've got the pedestrian bridge coming in, we've got this Maplehurst Innovation District that's research and innovation and a lot of cool things that I don't understand. But if we don't plan those in a way where they're connected, then they'll all happen, but they'll all happen in a way that maybe in hindsight, it's like, what were they thinking? And sort of they is sort of everybody involved. And so I think the way I understand this is this process, this resolution you're considering is a way to make sure we sort of take a time out, like we're moving fast on Entertainment District and Maplehurst and the bridge, but it's not too late to plan in a way that sort of connects those things to where when somebody visits the city, it's like, wow, they really, this feels like one thing. And so when the Board of Trustees approved the university's option to purchase some of the property at Maplehurst, President Boyd and Chancellor Plowman committed at that time to engage the community in a public process before any development involving UT would happen at Maplehurst, and we committed to any development would preserve Maplehurst, preserve historic Maplehurst. And we think we stepped in at a time that allowed that to happen because the property was going to be sold, as President Boyd pointed out, and it was going to be developed, but I don't think it was going to be developed in a way that would probably be the way that this council and maybe the city would want it to be developed to preserve Maplehurst. So I can commit to you that we will engage in the same type of community engagement on the North Waterfront that we have on the South Waterfront, listen to the community about what they would like to see over there, and obviously UT has its goals. The city's got its goals, but if we can do it in a unified way with some tools that sort of make it happen from an infrastructure and a connectivity perspective, I think that's what we would like to see. I'd be happy to answer specific questions, but that's kind of the way I think about this issue as I understand it.
Thank you. That's what I wanted. I really would love for my university and my city to be a role model for how town and gown can work together to really put the best minds together intellectually, heart-wise, with folks who live here and love this community, and come up with the best product that we can that meets everybody's or exceeds everybody's expectations of how great this property can be for the city. So I'm glad you were here so that you could speak for the university to this, because you are a big economic engine. You're right here on the water, and your voice in tonight's discussion is important. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. I will just say that I think the city has had really good track record in recent years, and I appreciate Chancellor Plowman's leadership, Matthew Scoggins. Dr. Bill Lyons is here, as you know. He is a UT faculty member, but he worked a couple years here in this building, and we appreciate his help on this, along with Ben Bentley and R.J. Justice. It's a lot of moving parts, and we appreciate the steadfast communication and collaboration, and more to come, a lot more to come.
I did not mean to imply that we did not have a good relationship. I just think that this is a good example of it being better.
Councilmember Thomas.
Yes, I'm speaking almost more of a private citizen now that I am a city councilman, but in years past, I actually spent a lot of time in Maplehurst, and it was a beloved little neighborhood there. People loved it. There were a lot of artists there. It was a real creative place where a lot of collaboration among the neighbors. And the architecture in particular, there's some really unique architecture there. And I'm hoping that that will be preserved, repurposed, and not swept away. So thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Parker.
So there was a discussion about changing the boundaries. But was someone going to make a motion about changing the boundaries, or what did I miss around changing the boundaries for this plan?
Mr. Bentley?
So what you have in front of you is accurate based on the public hearing, the second public hearing on August 7th that we held. There was actually there's been no change to the boundary since the original proposal that was included. So
and we've been contacted by some residents in the area who did not want to be included in those boundaries.
Y'all tell me if I'm wrong, because I know the two of you know, but so initially about a year ago, the group that bought the property on behalf of the University Financing Foundation, TUF, had some conversations about the Maplehurst Master Plan and which properties should be included within that plan. Misnomer, but under state law, they make us call this a redevelopment plan. So I think the two plans that are different elements of the same process, as Councilman Honeycutt pointed out, there was some confusion about that. So on the master plan, so the process I described that we're going to obviously add to our website, lay out those dates, that is where the essentially 1004 Game Day Way does not want to be included as a property that will be redeveloped under that master plan. And that would be we would omit them from the boundary of the master plan area, essentially.
But we're not voting on the master plan tonight. We're
Correct.
voting on the boundaries of the overall redevelopment area.
Yep.
That seems odd, because anything we put within the redevelopment area is subject to some new rules. And, it could be a property the city decides to acquire. So it seems like that would be the step.
So the change that we did make based on the public hearing was language in the plan that says, and I'm paraphrasing, but it's essentially, we will not acquire owner-occupied residential, which is the definition of non-rental commercial property in state law. So, such as 1004 Game Day Way. So we call out that property by name to give, like we talked about, the initial peace of mind that there's not going to be eminent domain used, like it's prohibited in the language of the plan in front of you. Then in Maplehurst, in the master plan, we're going to reiterate and even go a little bit further in the strengthening of that language, working with the homeowners association, because we want to make it very clear that they're not a subject of redevelopment.
But UT also has eminent domain powers. Would they still be able to move forward with?
Well, I think much like the city of Knoxville, I think there are eminent domain powers under state law for a number of different entities in existence now in that neighborhood. But the redevelopment plan adds us to that equation. So I think the subject of this plan, what we could control was our authority, which is we're not utilizing that.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, any further questions or discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please say aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you.
12O is a resolution authorizing the Industrial Development Board of the City of Knoxville to negotiate and accept from WP South Acquisitions, LLC, for an affiliate thereof, payments in lieu of ad valorem taxes with respect to certain real property located at 222 Patton Street, 0 Patton Street, 410 Georgia Street, and 400 Georgia Street in the city of Knoxville, Tennessee, and finding that such payments are deemed to be in the furtherance of the public purposes of the board as defined in Tennessee Code Annotated Section 7-53-305, District 6.
Is there a motion?
Well, I've got a question, I think. This is in councilperson
This is District 6.
Grant's district, and I'm concerned that he wasn't able to be here tonight, and I would really like to hear what he said.
Well, I'll have a motion.
I'll make a
on the
motion
floor.
to approve it.
Is there a second? Okay, motion to approve has been made and seconded. Mr. Thomas, did you have, Vice Mayor Fugit, sorry.
No, I'm sorry.
Mr. Thomas, I do think Ms. Justice has had a chance to talk to Mr. Grant about this. I know you can't speak for him, but
yes,
if you have
we
some
have,
thought, if you could share any
we have,
insights.
and again, I won't speak for him either, but he has been on tours with us and discussed the project in its context on the site and as it has developed, and he is, when we talked about it, very excited about the housing and the workforce component and the connectivity that it offers to the First Creek at Austin community.
Okay. That was my concern, that he hadn't had a chance to be consulted, and I wanted to at least get some evidence of what his thinking was. So, thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Parker.
Yeah, for a project like this, my hope would be that it would be accompanied with an update on the financing plan for the stadium. And whether this would have whether this is located within that TIF district, I think it is. And what our plans are for meeting the revenue goals on that stadium, because if this property has their taxes frozen for a certain period of time, are we able to, raise the revenue needed to meet our financing on the stadium?
Mr. Bentley, could you speak to that, please?
So specific to the TIF district, there's two primary debts that get, you all right?
Yeah.
Two primary debts that get paid off through that. So first position is the City of Knoxville's infrastructure funding. We've been working with Chief Financial Officer Evans on looking at the initial increment generated from that district to pay down what really amounts to $700,000 a year. It's a $14 million total infrastructure investment, so it's 20-year, $700,000 payments. In year one, it's looking like the increment generated will fully pay that $700,000. The way that it is structured, if y'all recall on the stadium, I'm not sure which title to apply here, but Randy Boyd, he essentially personally loaned $20 million to the stadium project. Behind that $14 million city debt, second position note is that $20 million personal. And so essentially, since the $700,000 is covered, the pilot in this area would abate taxes for 10 years, but also make a project happen that in years 11 through 20 will generate some significant revenue to be able to pay off the note that he provided to the project. So I guess the short story, that was way too many words. The city infrastructure is already covered under existing increment. This deferment essentially will, for a 10-year period, not allow the personal note to be paid back, but it will accelerate that process in years 11 through 20.
And the other concern is, I believe the budget for the Sports Authority comes from that in revenue from the TIF district.
I don't believe
and
so.
And the last audit report stated that the Sports Authority has not generated any income yet. So we're going into this year. I don't know what money the Sports Authority has. They've got another project.
I'm not sure what you mean about the Sports Authority generating.
The Sports Authority to operate needs. I mean, this was brought up during the discussion of the stadium, and it was something I brought up, and it was addressed. But we have, they have responsibilities that they're supposed to take the lead on, and as a part of the stadium financing, there was identified money that would support their work. And when I read the audit from last year, it said that they had no income as of yet. So I'm thinking this TIF district is their source. And we have to be mindful of all of the things this TIF district is supposed to be paying for.
Mr. Bentley?
And I certainly cannot speak to the ongoing revenue generated for the Sports Authority. I know that board oversees their budget and plans accordingly. But in terms of the obligations of the TIF district, those first two position notes are the primaries here.
So one's being paid for, one will be delayed, probably 10 years.
Correct.
Okay.
Any further questions or discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please say aye. Any opposed? Motion carries.
12P is a resolution to approve a major modification to a previously approved final plan within the planned development district, subject to 6 conditions, for property located at 406 Willow Avenue, Jonathan's Grill, applicant, 6th District.
Is there a motion? Okay, motion made to approve? Seconded? Okay, there's nobody signed up to speak to this item. Any questions or discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries.
13S is an ordinance to amend Chapter 2, Article 3, Division 2, Sections 2-446, 2-449, and 2-450 and 2-458 of the Knoxville City Code to adjust the classification and compensation plans.
Motion made to approve and seconded. Any questions or discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries.
13T is an ordinance of the Council of the City of Knoxville to amend Chapter 2, Article 2, Division 9 of the Knoxville City Code, changing the title of the Department of Information Systems to Innovation and Technology, in order to better reflect its current duties and scope of work.
Motion made to approve and seconded. Any questions or discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please say aye. Any opposed? Motion carries.
13U is an ordinance to amend the Knoxville City Code, Chapter 5, Article 2, Section 5-27, to limit the number of monkeys per household within a kennel permit, without a kennel permit.
I'm sorry. Did someone make a motion?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, motion made to approve and seconded. Okay, thank you. Just a minute, ma'am. Just a second. There's nobody signed up to speak at this. This woman who stood up is here. If you have questions for her, she's a resident who will be affected by these changes. She didn't have a chance to sign up ahead of time, so I'm letting you all know that she's here. If they want to ask you a question, they'll call you. Okay? Any questions or discussion? Okay. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. It's approved on first reading. It will be read on second reading in 2 weeks if you wish to come back and speak. Next item, please.
13V is an ordinance to close an unnamed alley within City Block 09248 and at 116 Hines Street, tax ID 094LA021, and authorizing the mayor to execute quitclaim deeds to the adjacent property owners, District 6.
Motion made to approve and seconded. Any questions or discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please say aye. Any opposed? Motion carries.
13X is an ordinance to change the base zoning classification of property located at 1900 Hoyt Avenue from RN2 District to IMU District. Josh Hahn, applicant, 4th District.
Motion to approve.
Motion made to approve has been seconded. Any questions or discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please say aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Oh, time for public forum. Keith Britt we have one person signed up for public forum. If you could come to the podium, state your name and address for the record, you'll have up to 3 minutes to address council.
Hi, Keith Britt, 506 Knowlton Drive. I haven't been here in a while. Most of you haven't seen me since you've been elected, but I'm a frequent contributor to public forums and on individual issues. A lot of the time I've spent at this podium, I've been championing for pay raises for the Knoxville Police Department. If you went over to County Commission, myself and Tom Spangler stood side by side and really worked to get that commission to raise wages for the sheriff's office. But I'm dismayed that I have lost all my faith in the Knoxville Police Department. And if you know my personal situation, that's particularly troubling for me. It's even worse. I can't be an honest broker for my children anymore to tell them to look up to police officers, because what we're seeing in this city is a systematic issue. What we learned on August 6th was disturbing, that we would see an abuse from somebody in that type of leadership role. And even if we take it outside of that one particular instance, what we saw in the details of that is not just a sexting scandal. It was a police chief openly interfering in an internal investigation. We saw a police officer with dozens upon dozens of violations of evidence handling that jeopardized every case she worked on. There are people that did some very bad things that are going to walk out of jail because of what we learned from what was announced on August 6th. There are some very good police officers, but this system is broken, and you guys are responsible for restoring our trust in that. And so I'm asking for three things. One, Mayor, you've got to fire the police chief. It's hard. It sucks in the short term. It's it's not going to be fun whatsoever. But if we're going to step forward and regain some trust in the police department, that's got to happen. Second, we've got to turn over every personnel record on a regular basis to Park and let them review what's being reported on our officers internally. Regardless if they're doing anything wrong or not, some outside entities got to have transparency into our police department. And then finally, to this dais, you've got to start making some laws to rein this in. We can't distrust anymore. We've got to have some rules in place for our police department to follow and be responsible for. Thank you and Godspeed.
Thank you. That concludes public forum, and without objection, this meeting is adjourned.